John Cheek, born on August 3, 1965, was a promising financial executive working in Memphis, Tennessee. He earned a bachelor's degree from Southern Methodist University and an MBA from the University of Chicago. By age 28, he had become the chief financial officer of the Cates Company, a prominent real estate firm in Memphis. He Company was on the verge of going public, a move that would have significantly increased Cheek's financial standing, potentially elevating his salary and granting him $2 million in stock options. As of 2025, this would be just shy of $5 million. Not a bad payday at all. In late 1993, Cheek was deeply involved in the company's transition to a public real estate investment trust. This period was marked by intense work, with Cheek reportedly working 18-hour days and traveling extensively to cities like Milwaukee, Portland, and Denver to meet with investors. The process faced unexpected delays due to questions from the Securities and Exchange Commission, adding to the pressure he was under. Despite these challenges, the deal was eventually completed, and an audit found no evidence of wrongdoing on Cheek's part. However, by then, Cheek had disappeared and never received the financial rewards he had anticipated. On the evening of December 2nd, 1993, after returning from a business trip, Cheek had dinner with a business associate at the Cooker restaurant in Memphis. He was reportedly drinking heavily during the dinner. Around 11 p.m., his associate dropped him off at the Crescent Center, where his vehicle was parked. This was the last confirmed sighting of Cheek, though I say confirmed here because things are about to get weird in a moment. The following morning, when Cheek failed to appear at work, his parents filed a missing persons report. Investigations revealed that his suitcases were unpacked at his new home in East Memphis, and towels his mother had placed on his bed had been moved, indicating he had been there. Notably, the garage door was also found open, and it's not clear from the evidence how long it had been left that way. Later that morning, his car was discovered abandoned near the Memphis-Arkansas Bridge, which spans the Mississippi River. There were no signs of a struggle or any indication of his whereabouts. Authorities initially considered the possibility of self-deletion, speculating that Cheek might have jumped into the Mississippi River. However, extensive searches yielded no evidence to support this theory. Friends and family dismissed the idea, describing Cheek as an extremely driven and successful individual who was just on the verge of achieving a major life goal. In the months following his disappearance, there were several reported sightings of a man matching Cheek's description in various locations, including in Virginia and Arkansas. One notable sighting occurred in February 1994 at a truck stop in Rafine, Virginia, where a trucker believed he had interacted with Cheek. This trucker described the man as appearing to be disoriented and unaware of his identity. Notably, this wasn't just a quick passing sighting by the trucker. The trucker, being a good Samaritan and seeing a guy down on his luck, decided to buy the man breakfast and eat together with him. The man told the trucker that he was previously staying at a homeless shelter in Arkansas. Some speculated that Cheek might have been experiencing a dissociative fugue state, a rare condition triggered by extreme stress, leading to amnesia and unplanned travel. However, none of these sightings were conclusively verified. Despite extensive investigations, Cheek's whereabouts remain unknown, and in August 2000, he was legally declared dead. The Cates Company proceeded with its plans and went public in early 1994 as Mid-America Apartment Communities, Inc., a real estate investment trust. As of today, the company still trades on the New York Stock Exchange and has a market cap of just under $20 billion. Given the unusual nature of his disappearance, a number of theories have been talked about online. Some observers point to the high-pressure environment Cheek was under, working 18-hour days and traveling extensively, as a potential catalyst for him to walk away. By late 1993, The pending transition of the Cates Company into a public real estate investment trust may have brought extraordinary stress. It's theorized that he might have abandoned his old identity and begun anew under the radar, possibly motivated by a desire to escape the responsibilities and intensity of the corporate world. Proponents of this theory note that starting over could have offered him a clean slate, free from the obligations he found overwhelming. Still, there is no concrete evidence that Cheek planned or arranged for a deliberate disappearance, leaving this theory rooted in speculation rather than fact. Another theory is that Cheek somehow became entangled with criminal elements, whether through business dealings, financial disputes, or inadvertently. In this scenario, Cheek might have witnessed something, or owed a debt he couldn't repay, and was forcibly disappeared. However, law enforcement found no direct clues hinting at foul play in his car or his home, and investigators never confirmed any such criminal connections. I was able to find some very speculative theories online about two of his frat brothers disappearing under unusual circumstances during the same time period. That said, I wasn't able to find anything to corroborate this. A third explanation is that Cheek experienced a dissociative fugue, a rare psychiatric condition triggered by extreme stress, causing permanent amnesia. The period when he was working upwards of 18 hours a day, coupled with SEC delays and the looming IPO, could have created an immense psychological burden. The reported sightings of a man who resembled Cheek in Arkansas and Virginia, particularly the truck driver's account of a disoriented individual, lend some weight to this possibility. Still, no one definitively verified these sightings as Cheek, and over time, the trail went cold. If he were suffering from a prolonged fugue state, he could theoretically still be alive with little to no memory of his previous life. Also, quick note as I'm just editing and finalizing this now, and I realize I didn't mention the truck driver's name, which seems like a pretty big oversight given his good deed. Anyway, big shout out to Ron Jackson doing a kind act for an individual who was clearly in trouble, and sitting down with him and hearing him out when most people would have just ignored him. His daughter appears to have posted about the incident in February 2024, and she confirmed that he's still alive and thinks about what happened to Cheek till this day. So if you're listening and your dad is interested in talking more about this case, please reach out. It would be very interesting to actually conduct an interview with a primary source for one of the cases discussed in this series. The show jumping horse elimination scandal, spanning from the mid-1970s to the mid-1990s, stands as one of the most egregious episodes in sporting history that basically no one has heard of. During this period, numerous high-value show-jumping horses were deliberately slain to fraudulently collect insurance payouts. The exact number of horses put out to pasture remains uncertain, but estimates suggest it could be as high as 100. The motivations behind these slayings varied from case to case. Some owners facing financial difficulties saw insurance fraud as a quick solution. Others, having invested in overvalued or underperforming horses, chose to eliminate these animals to recoup their losses through insurance claims. In some instances, con men would trick wealthy individuals into purchasing overvalued horses. When the deception risked exposure, the horses were knocked off. A central figure in this scandal was Tommy the Sandman Burns. He earned his nickname because his specialty was putting innocent horses to sleep, if you know what I mean. Burns traveled the circuit with equipment designed to electrocute horses, a method he believed was quick and painless. Just kidding. He believed this method would be undetectable by insurance companies. For fees ranging from $5,000 to $40,000, he destroyed horses on behalf of their owners, who would then file fraudulent insurance claims. Burns's operations were extensive. At one point, evidence suggests he was electrocuting up to 3 horses a week. Burns ended up taking a plea deal, and over the course of the 90s, 35 people were convicted for this disturbing fraud. But where's the mystery, then, you may ask? Well, the most obvious mystery is that we don't really know the full extent of this fraud and how many people were involved. Notably, a lot of very wealthy and influential people were involved. And as tends to happen in these sorts of cases, we don't ever seem to get the full story. It kind of reminds me of a famous individual who definitely deleted himself fully voluntarily on August 10th, 2019, and whose client list has never been fully released. But there's also a human elimination associated with this case as well. One of the horse scammers attempted to negotiate a fraudulent horse transaction with Helen Brack, a wealthy heiress, in 1977. When she realized the whole transaction was a dog and pony show with sinister underpinnings, she told one of the scammers she would be reaching out to the district attorney. After leaving a medical appointment and while on her way to meet with someone from the DA's office, she disappeared, never to be seen or heard from again. And yes, I'll be covering her case in depth in a future episode in this series. Haitian Voodoo is a syncretic religion that emerged in Haiti during the colonial era and has its roots in various West and Central African spiritual traditions. Over time, it blended with elements of Roman Catholicism, introduced by the French colonial presence, resulting in a complex religious and esoteric system. The historical origins of voodoo can be traced back to the 17th and 18th centuries, when the island of Hispaniola was a French colony named Saint-Domingue. Africans, primarily from regions corresponding to modern-day Benin, Togo, Nigeria, and the Congo area, brought with them distinct spiritual practices and cosmologies. These traditions, known as Vodun, carried a pantheon of spirits, ancestral reverence, and an understanding of the divine infused in everyday life, the usuals of an animistic belief system. This syncretic blending was facilitated by a shared spiritual logic. The African deities, known as Loa in Haitian Voodoo, were likened to Catholic saints. The Africans often took advantage of the Catholic practice of venerating saints, depicted in statues and images, to represent their own African spirits, thereby preserving their traditions. This identification wasn't just a pragmatic necessity to keep traditions alive. It reflected a mutual understanding that divine forces manifest in numerous ways. The people understood certain saints to be manifestations of the gods they had previously worshipped, based on overlapping powers and abilities associated with them. Haitian voodoo ceremonies often involve singing, drumming, spirit possession, and offerings to the Loa, who act as intermediaries between humans and the Supreme Creator. Participants might dance and sing in rhythmic patterns, facilitating a trance state that allows spirits to possess an individual, temporarily speaking through them to offer guidance. One prominent magical practice in Haitian voodoo is the preparation of gris-gris, small amulets or pouches filled with herbs, powders, and charged with spiritual energy. These objects are believed to offer protection, attract love, or bring luck. Another key practice is spiritual baths, which cleanse negative energies and restore balance, often involving sacred water, herbs, and prayers. However, there's a darker side of voodoo practice, and priests called bokor can be hired to curse enemies or create potions with disturbing effects. Perhaps most famously, these bokor can be hired to create zombies, which I'll be discussing later in this video. Notably, while voodoo dolls are often associated with Haitian voodoo in popular culture, they don't figure prominently in Haitian practice. Instead, the prevalence of voodoo dolls comes from Louisiana voodoo, which, while similar to the Haitian variant, is different enough that I'll be looking into it separately later. Hey, it's your boy Jimmy here with a quick shout out to all my subscribers, patrons, and YouTube members. Also, remember to click that share button and send this video to all your friends and family. McFarlane's Bear is a cryptid rooted in a single historical encounter from 1864 in Canada's Northwest Territories. Inuit hunters eliminated a large, yellow-furred bear and provided its skin and skull to Roderick McFarlane, a naturalist and Hudson's Bay Company trader. McFarlane sent these remains to the Smithsonian Institution, as was the style at the time, where they remain stored till this day. In 1918, Dr. Clinton Hart Merriam examined the specimen and proposed it belonged to a new genus and species, naming it Vetularctos inopinatus, meaning ancient unexpected bear. This classification was based on the bear's unique characteristics, notably its pale tan fur and an unusually shaped skull, which did not align with known bear species of the time. Over the years, several theories have emerged regarding the true identity of McFarlane's bear. One prominent hypothesis suggests that it was a polar bear-grizzly hybrid. Such hybrids, known as growler bears, or pisleys, are rare but have been documented, exhibiting physical traits intermediate between the two species. And yes, in case you're wondering, the moment I read the word pisley, I knew that I'd be working that word into the script. According to some theorists and experts, the pale fur and skull morphology of McFarlane's specimen align with characteristics observed in these hybrids. Another theory posits that McFarlane's bear could have been a surviving representative of a Pleistocene-era species. Under this theory, it potentially represents a relict population that persisted beyond its extinction timeline. This idea stems from the bear's distinct features, which some researchers believe may not correspond entirely with known modern species or hybrids. The Smithsonian has occasionally let experts examine the remains, but as yet no DNA testing has been conducted. Given where we're at with DNA technology, and given that we've literally got what remains of the body sitting in a box in Washington, let's get it out and test it. Also, maybe I've just been watching too much American Dad in the background while working on scripts, but I can't help think that Ted 3 should be a documentary on McFarlane's bear. The tale of the man from Taured takes place in July 1954 at Tokyo's Haneda Airport, where a man allegedly arrived with a passport from a country named Taured. For those not incredibly familiar with the geography of the 1950s, this is a nation that does not exist on any known map and never has at any point. The mysterious man claimed that Taured was located between France and Spain, precisely where Andorra is situated. Despite this assertion, when he was shown a map, he became agitated, insisting that his country had existed for over 1,000 years. The man also carried documentation, including a passport and currency, that supported his claims of being from Taured, all of which puzzled the Japanese authorities. They detained him in a hotel room under guard while they conducted further investigations. However, the next morning, the man had vanished without a trace, leaving no sign of how he might have escaped, especially given that the room had no balcony and was several floors up. Some suggest that the man was a traveler from a parallel dimension where Taured is a real country, and that he somehow crossed over into our reality before slipping back into his own. Despite the mysterious allure of the story, many researchers believe it may be rooted in a much more mundane event involving a man named John Allen Kuchar Zagros. In 1960, Zagros was arrested in Japan after presenting a forged passport from a fictional country called Taured. His passport was written in an unknown language, and Zagros claimed to be an intelligence agent, traveling on orders from an Arab international organization. While the man from Taured tale remains a fascinating piece of modern folklore, most evidence suggests it grew out of a simpler, more mundane event involving Zagros. His forged passport from the non-existent country appears to have provided the small grain of reality on which the myth was built. Over time, this story has been repeatedly embellished, becoming a modern myth. Another theory suggests that the man from Taured could have been an ethnic Tuareg, a stateless Berber people who live in North Africa and the Sahel. Under this theory, Japanese authorities may have been confused by the rather unusual-looking Berber script and believed his documents were fake. And yeah, this is one of those moments where you're going to want to look at the screen because I can almost guarantee you've never seen this alphabet before. That said, I haven't been able to find any evidence that any countries in the 1950s were issuing passports using the Berber script. I suspect the passports for all the countries where a Tuareg person likely could have come from would have been either in French or, less likely at the time, Arabic. Zombies have become familiar figures in popular culture, often seen lumbering across movie screens or shambling through the pages of horror novels. Yet, behind the fictional ghouls that dominate modern media lies a disturbing tradition, one originating in the occult practices of Haitian voodoo. The word zombie is widely believed to derive from West African terms such as nzambi or zumbi, which refer to spirits or the souls of the dead. Within Haitian voodoo cosmology, the spirit world exists in constant interaction with the living, and the soul can be subject to manipulation by powerful ritualists known as bokors. The traditional Haitian zombie isn't a ghoul, but rather a reanimated corpse or living person whose soul or willpower has been stolen. Haitian folklore describes bokors as having the knowledge to poison individuals, induce a death-like state, and then later revive them as mindless servants. According to these narratives, the victim's sense of self is destroyed, leaving them vulnerable to the bokor's commands. This practice, while rare and clearly legally forbidden, serves as a powerful cultural metaphor in Haiti. The Haitian Penal Code has historically included statutes outlawing zombification, treating it as a capital offense. This, of course, was direct legal recognition that someone could be zombified, stripped of their will, and made to appear dead. One of the most significant investigations was conducted by Wade Davis, an ethnobotanist who traveled to Haiti in the 1980s. Davis aimed to identify compounds that bokors allegedly used to transform the living into zombies. He proposed that a combination of tetrodotoxin, a potent neurotoxin found in pufferfish, and other locally sourced chemicals could induce a death-like coma. This would slow bodily functions to the point where a victim might be presumed dead and later retrieved and revived by the bokor. According to Davis, once the victim regained consciousness, their psychological trauma and cultural conditioning could lead them to behave like a docile servant. Davis's research was met with some skepticism. Critics argued that his chemical analyses were inconclusive and that cultural or psychological factors may play a larger role. However, it remains one of the most comprehensive attempts to verify the scientific legitimacy of Haitian zombification. Indeed, there are documented cases that lend credibility to at least some of Davis's claims. Take, for instance, the story of Clervius Narcisse, a Haitian man who allegedly died in 1962, was buried, and later reappeared in 1980. Narcisse claimed he had been resurrected as a zombie and forced to work on a plantation, only to escape later when the bokor controlling him died. This bizarre tale sparked scientific curiosity and public fascination, prompting Davis's investigations. While no conclusive proof emerged that Narcisse truly died and was resurrected, medical records did show that he was pronounced dead and buried. Records also showed that he had been placed in a morgue for over a day before being buried. His reappearance suggested that either he had been misdiagnosed and buried alive, or that something even more extraordinary and sinister had taken place. Others have suggested the person who reappeared in 1962 wasn't actually Clervius Narcisse, but an individual who stole the identity of a dead man to profit off a zombie narrative. In more recent times, global popular culture has embraced the zombie. detaching it almost entirely from its Haitian roots. The modern zombie owes its popularity largely to George Romero's film Night of the Living Dead and its successors, which reimagine zombies as undead hordes. These zombies, too, are often removed from their occult context, instead providing a science fiction-based theme for why people turned into zombies. So like many of you, I'm a fan of zombies, having consumed probably thousands of hours of zombie-based content over the course of my life. From an occult perspective, zombies are endlessly fascinating because they embody the interplay between life, death, and the unknown forces that govern our existence. The idea that the soul or essence of a person could have partially or wholly departed while the body remains animated is both deeply disturbing and fascinating. In Haitian voodoo lore, the creation of a zombie is tied to the idea of spiritual entrapment. The Bokors, who manipulate individuals into a zombified state, highlight the dark potential of spiritual knowledge when used irresponsibly. They represent the ultimate loss of self, a soulless existence driven by the will of another. I find this theme particularly compelling because it forces us to question what makes us human. Zombies broke out of their original context in Haitian voodoo and into science fiction and pop culture due to their profound symbolic flexibility. In modern narratives, they embody fears of societal collapse, black swan events, and the loss of individuality, resonating with a global audience. The zombie archetype adapts seamlessly to different genres, representing everything from biological experimentation gone wrong to apocalyptic survival scenarios to evil rituals. Anyway, thanks for joining me in another dive into the unexplained. Peace out, everyone.